But when there are certain acts which are to be performed, then it is a contract for sale. If suppose in that agreement it is written that that the vendor shall perform his part of the contract to get the deed executed after coming back from abroad, then this contract shall remain in force till he comes back. And when he comes back, he is bound to transfer the property to him, and he then gets a deed executed and registered in his favor. Then the transaction is complete in all respects. And when the transaction is complete in all respects, then it is an absolute sale. But so far as that event was concerned, up to that time it did not happen. Up to that time he shall not be entitled to be declared as owner of the property, because the right was not established in the court at that time when the document was executed. So the intention of the document should be gathered from the words of the document. It should be read all together with reference to the context. What are the parties? What is the subject matter? What is the consideration? And what are the terms and conditions settled between the parties? If all the terms and conditions are fulfilled and nothing is left to be done, then it is an absolute sale. Otherwise, it is a contract for sale. And when it is a contract for sale, it does not create any right. The distinction between the two is that when there is a sale, he becomes the owner. When there is an agreement to sell, he is neither the owner nor entitled to be declared as owner. He is simply a person who has the right to enforce the agreement after the conditions are fulfilled. So when the conditions are fulfilled and the person who was the owner of the property and the vendor of the property who executed the document refuses to do so, then what happens? Then where there is an agreement, the vendee is entitled to file a suit for specific performance of contract. But where sale is complete and the vendor comes to disturb him, then the suit for specific performance is not competent. Then the suit for declaration is competent. Where there is a denial of his right, where is denial of his title, where is denial of his character, where is denial of the sale, then the suit for declaration is competent. But when there is no sale, then the agreement shall be enforced through filing a suit for specific performance of contract. Here is another thing which is to be explained. Sometimes it happens that in agreement it is written that on the fulfillment of these conditions, the vendor shall execute the deed and get it registered. And if the vendee fails to perform his part of the contract, the money paid by him as an advance money, that earnest money shall be confiscated in favor of the vendor. So a body, there is a conflict, the vendor refuses. He says, I am not going to fulfill part of my contract on certain reasons. Then the vendee has a right to file a suit for specific performance. And he proves that there exists a valid contract for sale and he is entitled to the specific performance. The court grants him the decree for specific performance. Here is a very strange thing, that a decree means formal expression. Decree means formal expression which, so far as regards the matter in controversy, conclusively determines the rights of the parties. Meaning thereby that a decree is determining the rights of the parties conclusively. But in specific performance of contract, there is a decree. Is it fulfilling the requirement of the decree and conclusively determining the rights of the parties? Because the agreement does not create any right. The answer is yes, it is fulfilling the requirement of final adjudication. Because this adjudication is to the extent of this right that he is entitled to get it enforced. So the decree which is conclusively determining the right of the party, what that right is being determined? It is determining the right to get the agreement enforced. So in the suit for specific performance, when the decree is passed, the court declares that the vendee plaintiff is entitled to enforce this agreement as a decree of the court. Sometimes it happens that a man gets the copy of the decree, goes to Patwari, and the decree for specific performance is implemented in the revenue court. Is it legal? It is not legal, because that decree is declaring his right to get it enforced. It itself is not creating any right of ownership. So there can be no state of immutation on the basis of this decree. Because section 42 of Land Revenue Act says that the mutation shall be sanctioned when one person acquires the title. On the basis of the decree, he is not acquiring the title. When he is not acquiring the title, he is not entitled to get the mutation sanctioned. So what he should do? He should go to the court for the execution of the decree. Execution is one thing, implementation is another thing. The sanction of mutation and entry of mutation is an implementation of the decree, not the execution of the decree. So the decree first is to be executed by the court of competent jurisdiction. We pass the decree. And first the decree is passed. The decree is not passed regarding the transfer of ownership, but it is passed only to declare that he is entitled to get it executed and get the property transferred in his favor. So when this situation arises, it several times happens that after getting the decree for specific performance, a mutation is entered and sanctioned, and thereafter, after several days, several years, the mutation is reviewed and cancelled, and the time for execution has also expired. So where there is a decree on the basis of a contract for the sale of immovable property, it declares the right of a person to get it executed and registered, and then it should be implemented in the revenue record. So the steps are to be taken. In this situation, we are to consider that absolute sale confers the ownership, while contract for the sale does not confer the ownership. It is a document which entitles the vendee to resort to the proper forum to get it enforced. Sale is automatically enforced, while the contract for sale is to be enforced either by the parties themselves or with the help of the court. So sale of immovable property is important in this respect, that it creates all rights in favor of the vendee and extinguishes all the rights of the vendor. And if you want to purchase a property, the transaction should be of such a nature that it should extinguish all the rights of the vendors, and the title of the vendor passes on to the vendee under the law as we have already discussed. So thank you very much for the patient hearing.